Have you ever wanted to know what it's like to be someone else? Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a stupid question. It's some form or fashion, I suppose everyone has, whether you're fantasizing yourself to be someone else or be something you're not, and that sort of thing. Well, in Tales from the Loop's second episode, Transpose, you get an inkling of this sort of situation. As it concerns two young boys who, and because of their age, it's easy to accept the stupidity of their actions upon the discovery of what they encounter that involves this very element within its plot, which I'm dancing around because I'm trying to do these reviews in such a way as to not just spell out step by step what happened in the show. It's more, the atmosphere is still there. I think the first episode was superior to this one, but there's a lot of the same. The moods and the elements remain, and a lot of it, as I referred to in some of the accounts of different horror movies, where I said ultimately, sadness was the ultimate monster to be afraid of, and that's certainly the case here, where there's just an overwhelming, haunting sadness through the feel of this series, where it's actually this wonderland of things that are happening, and you're not quite sure why. They don't quite spell it out. You know that there's this facility known as the Loop, and there's this incredible sphere in there, as we saw in the first episode, but that's it. You don't really know much about it. They're working on it, and bizarre things happen. Meanwhile, there's robots scattered everywhere. They're not really in use, but they're there, and it's as if something had happened before. There's just bizarre objects around, that has the hints and trappings of science fiction. And of course, it's based on the paintings that was produced by the, I can't pronounce the guy's name, Stalin Hag? Or Stalin Hag? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. And so from that is given the inspiration for these tales, and it's just the idea that this particular town, where it's expected these weird things can happen, which it would stand to reason when you're wandering around and messing with things, you might want to just leave that alone when you find something in the woods. So, again, a haunting sadness is the result of this. The consequences are actually quite terrible here about the actions that these boys decide to do, and where it goes. This does involve characters that you were briefly introduced to in the previous episode, and now, well, they will never be the same again. One of them, anyway. And for a while there, I wondered, does this take place in sequence? I think it does. I guess when I rewatch it after this, I'm pretty sure I will. It's only 8 episodes, so as I'm following this, the hint of an overall narrative is certainly there. So I'm assuming that there'll be something that'll come together by the end of it, or at least clues to something, maybe it's something they want to keep for another season or what have you. And I wondered, well, does it take place in chronological order? Does this episode really mean to take place after the first one? Which would suggest that, who you thought certain people weren't, and all that sort of thing, without spoiling the events of the story. But it's very well done. It's very well in the nature and mood of it, and it's it's intoxicating. It draws you in. It has power to it, and so even though it's not much of a criticism, this is a very good episode. I just was more taken with the first one. But the end result is the same. It's coming. Well, gee, this is really sad. It's not like it's something that's horrific to the point that there's a monster and it eats somebody or something along those lines, or it's some larger than life adventure happens and this sort of thing. No, it's just this bizarre set of circumstances, the type of things you would find in Twilight Zone or something along those lines, played through the structure of this strange little town. that revolves around this company, facility, what have you, and the results of which is, well, again, quite telling and unfortunately often very sad. Like the first episode had its resolution and everything, but it's still, again, sad. And yet at the same time, it has this charm and power to it. I guess a sort of dark charm, if you will, in the mood of it not being a happy ending. But maybe there'll be a resolution later down the road. But the way it is and the way it leaves it open here, as well, you shouldn't have messed with that. And maybe that's for the best. But still, highly recommend this series, Tales from the Loop on Primazon. Amazon Prime. It's worth the investment. And I hear nothing about it. I only heard this on a live stream on YouTube about it. And I was like, okay, well, let me check this out and see what's going on. It's like, oh, wow, this is nice. What other hidden treats are there? And this happens a bit. The series Dark, that's made out of Germany. That one is just fantastic and excellent. It was, in a lot of ways, compared to Stranger Things, it blows Stranger Things out of the water. I mean, it's brilliant, and its execution and presentation is glorious. This one is pretty much on par with that. And I'm only 2 episodes in, so it's tough to really make the full judgment on it. But it's right up there on par with the nature and execution of Dark. So, yeah, I really got to look into how do you find hidden treasures out there unless someone just says, hey, check this out. All right, I'll look. So this was looks to be quite a treat. So now I've got 6 more episodes to go, and so far, so very, very good. So yeah, highly recommend it. I just can't bring myself to spoil it. I don't know, because like Dark, I would go through the steps of it, but this one, I don't know why. I just feel like I can't just tell you right out what I kind of did here, but I think you need to sit through it to get a full appreciation of it. It is a bit strange in that it's kind of split in the observations you get between the 2 boys. You start with one and you think it's mostly about, in a way it is about him for the most part, and then suddenly you're about the other boy and in this. But so that's a kind of interesting thing there. I'm not sure exactly. I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe it should have been through him all along, but then I don't know how you would get where you're going. And then the nature and the revelation at the end of what the ultimate fate was. Yeah, I don't see how else they could have done it. So, but maybe that's, it's hard. I should have a reason for saying why this one is not as good as the first one, but that's just, my reaction to it. It just the nature of the 2 stories and that sort of thing, even though the mood and the formation and presentation is pretty much the same. It's the same world, and all that. They keep that down pat very well. So, and of course, shot beautifully and all of that. So yes, do check it out. Do yourself a treat for this treat that I found for myself. And watch Tales from the Loop. And boy, even with only 2 under the belt, I would be very happy to hear. And maybe in the comments, seems everybody knows more news about TV shows and whether or not they're being signed up for another season or not more than I do. As to whether this one will get a second season. At this point, yeah, I hope so. But anyway, thanks for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe? And check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores that have plenty of goodies for you. Yeah, the usual stuff. T-shirts, hats, mugs, stickers, posters, all that good stuff. And my comic book night over at IndiePlanet.com. Oh, yeah, you're going to want to check that out. And, of course, you can catch my regular podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, over at RadioMisfits.com. And, of course, you can also watch my videos on BitChute.